Hi, my name's Dean Gledhill. Welcome to my DVD on performing the power clean. This DVD will cover an introduction to the power clean. It will explain the need for the exercise and its crossover into sport and activity. It will discuss some of the current literature on the power clean. It will show the musculature involved when performing it. It will then give an example of a good specific warm-up and reasons for this. It will break down the power clean into its relevant coaching points. It will show some basic progressions and regressions if required. It will describe how an athlete can apply this into his training. And it will finish with a summary of the DVD, followed by a compiled reference list. The power clean, as seen demonstrated in the video, is an explosive exercise derived from Olympic weightlifting training and is used by many sporting athletes to develop and improve whole body power ability.
In many current sports, the importance of muscle power has long been associated with better performance. Movements such as running, jumping, and sprinting are prevalent in many different sports and require individuals to be able to generate large amounts of force and power from the lower limb musculature. In many sporting situations, such as jumping, sprinting, a dynamic, explosive extension of the hips, knees, and ankles is imperative in order to produce the forces required. This movement is often referred to as triple extension.
The power clean incorporates triple extension, and therefore it will not only have a carryover into various other gym exercises such as the squat, deadlift, and snatch, but it will also have a crossover effect into any sport involving running, jumping, and also cycling. Strength training, weightlifting, and more specifically explosive lifting, have long been looked at and debated upon as to the requirement in sport. There is a lot of literature citing the pros and cons of lifting. It could be said that the use of free weights in strength training has gone full circle. Explosive and Olympic lifting training have now returned to be a key part of most athletes' training, regardless of the sport. Current research, however, shows some conflictions with the application of the power clean and other Olympic lifts, with many arguing that without the correct base level fitness in strength and flexibility amongst basic motor and kinetic control movement patterning, the risk of injury is far greater. These points should be adhered to strictly prior to advancing to the power clean. However, there is much literature showing the correlations between power clean and sprint speed, as well as vertical jump height with regards to better performance. Before looking at the musculature involved, we should first look at the movement of the power clean. It is an exercise which moves along a sagittal plane on a frontal axis. This is due mostly to the extensive amount of flexion and extension throughout the body's joints during the movement. When looking at the anterior aspect of the clean, it can be seen that there are a variety of muscles activated. In the picture, particular attention should be made to the lower limb musculature, as these are the main agonist and antagonist throughout the movement. The upper body musculature works mainly as stabilizers and fixators of the trunk. Equally as important is the posterior view. Again, specific attention should be made to the lower limb musculature around the hips, knees, and ankles, as these are working hard to generate triple extension. It is well practiced and accepted that performing a warm-up prior to exercise will increase potentiation and enhance performance. It is highly encouraged that an athlete performs a specific warm-up prior to performing the power clean. A well-recognised and practiced warm-up protocol by UKSCA coaches and athletes is the ramp warm-up. This is shown to increase performance by increasing global muscle temperature, core temperature, and increasing blood flow, as well as improving contraction and relaxation of both agonist and antagonist muscles. It will improve rate force development, lower viscous resistance in muscles, and can improve oxygen delivery due to the Bohr effect when working at higher temperatures. As the power clean is a multi-joint exercise, mobility movements utilising the large muscle groups involved should be key to the activate and mobilise phases of the ramp model. Static style stretches prior to lifting have been shown to reduce force production and therefore should be avoided. A more dynamic mobilising approach should therefore be adapted. Dynamic mobility exercises for the ankles, knees and hips, as shown in the video, will allow a smoother movement through the stages of the power clean and therefore a greater chance of generating more force. Mobility of the shoulders and spine is not to be forgotten, as this will help with the pull phases and also in getting into position to receive the bar. There are different variations of the power clean technique, but most, if not all, agree on 5 key phases of the lift. The start position, the first pull, the transition, or sometimes referred to as the scoop, the second pull, and then the catch. There could be a 6th phase if you include the lowering of the bar, but for the purpose of this DVD, we will only be going up to the catch. For the start position, the athlete should approach the bar with feet between hip and shoulder width apart. The feet should point forward or slightly outward and be directly underneath the bar. The athlete should squat down to grasp the bar. Hips should be lower than the shoulders. A pronated hook grip should be adopted, as this is the recognised stronger grip for power exercises. Hand position should be on the outside of the knees with elbows fully extended. The bar should be approximately 3 cm from the shin. The back should be flat or slightly arched and head aligned to form a neutral spine. Shoulders should be slightly in front of the bar. During the first pull, the athlete should lift the bar off the floor by forcefully extending the hips and knees, keeping the elbows fully extended. Ensure that neutral spine is maintained and that the angle of the torso relevant to the ground remains constant. Keep the bar as close to the shins as possible and raise the bar approximately just below the knees. The transition or scoop phase is when the bar starts to rise above the knee. As the bar rises above the knee, the athlete should thrust the hips forward, should keep the barbell in contact with the thighs, the elbow should still be fully extended, and the torso to ground angle will now start to increase. During the second pull, the athlete should continue to raise the bar up the body by forcefully extending the hips, knees and ankles simultaneously. The bar should still remain close to the body. The athlete should maintain neutral spine throughout. When full triple extension is achieved, the athlete should start to shrug the shoulders upwards. At this stage, the elbows will now begin to flex outwards, ready to pull the body under the bar to receive it. When the barbell starts to descend from its highest point, the athlete should pull the arms around under the bar, slightly flex at the knees and the hips. Once under the bar, lift the elbows until the triceps are parallel to the ground. The bar should be racked across the clavicles and the anterior deltoids. The athlete should catch the bar with an erect neutral spine, flat feet and shoulders slightly ahead of the glutes. Once the bar has been received, the athlete should stand up to a fully erect position with the bar remaining racked. If regressions are required, then this should be visible from the potentiation phase of the warm-up. NSCA state that regressing the exercise into each stage is the best way to learn the rhythm required for the power clean. If there is a requirement to regress this exercise, then the athlete could resort back to the skill transfer required in deadlift, Romanian deadlift, or high pull. However, a simple way to slightly regress is to perform the exercise from the hang position, thus making it a hang clean. There are a variety of ways the athlete could progress the power clean, such as simply increasing the weight. A simple progression of the lift itself is to progress to performing the full squat clean. Then, a later progression once more could be to add in the jack. This will then target some new musculature and in a slightly different way, thus increasing the adaptation effects and sport specificness. The power clean is described by the NSCA as a power exercise due to the high loads lifted and the barbell's accelerating velocity throughout the movement. As it lasts no more than 6 seconds per rep, it requires the athlete to be conditioned to working well within the phosphocreatine energy systems. The quicker the athlete is able to regenerate ATP will mean that they'll be able to perform further reps with less recovery time. The Periclean can be used throughout an athlete's meso and macro cycle, with reps, sets and intensity being altered according to their specific requirement. If we consider the Periclean as purely a power exercise, then the reps and sets range should be somewhere between 3 to 5 sets of 1 to 5 reps, working between 75 to 90% of the athlete's 1 rep max. Recovery between sets should be somewhere between 2 to 5 minutes. However, as mentioned, it can be used throughout an athlete's periodized program, and by simply adjusting load, reps, sets, and recovery will allow the athlete to further develop strength in different areas as necessary to the sport or the goal. In summary then, the Periclean is an essential exercise athletes should use to develop whole body power. The exercise is used for and can cross over into a vast amount of sport-specific skills. It will also help an athlete progress further into different styles of Olympic lifts. As with any exercise, technique is paramount and maintaining form is essential even when fatigued. The coaching points in this DVD include the main coaching points and cues stated by both NSCA and UKSCA, as well as other coaches and supporting literature. Preparing the body correctly prior to performing this exercise will greatly reduce the risk of injury and better prepare the body for the lift. It will also ensure that the athlete is ready to advance onto such a complex lift. There are copious amounts of literature available justifying the importance and the requirement for explosive lifting, as well as its crossover into performance. There are negative views to this particular exercise, as I'm sure there are with every other exercise. However, I feel that this DVD has shown that the pros far outweigh the cons. And if performed correctly, the Periclean is a great exercise to include in any athlete's program.